You're listening to The Resilient Animal. I'm Annie Peterson, Doctor of Education with a Master's in Mental Health Recovery and Trauma-Informed Care. This podcast is an exploration of how helping other living beings can benefit human mental health and well-being, and what makes us all resilient animals. The psychological impact of war on both humans and animals has been extensively documented throughout history, revealing patterns that help us understand current conflicts. During World War I, horses played a crucial role, not only in military operations, but in maintaining soldier morale, with military records showing significantly lower rates of shell shock among cavalry units. The Vietnam War saw the emergence of specialized dog handlers whose bonds with their canine partners often proved life-saving, both physically and psychologically. During World War II, British citizens faced not only physical hardships, but also severe psychological strain. Despite strict rationing that tested their own survival, many shared their limited food with their pets, demonstrating a remarkable capacity for empathy, even under extreme stress. Historical records show that approximately 750,000 pets were euthanized in London alone during the first week of World War II due to fears about food shortages, a decision that caused widespread emotional trauma and was later recognized as a significant blow to civilian morale. When London endured intense bombing campaigns, numerous families made the psychologically complex decision to refuse entry into air raid shelters unless their animals could accompany them. Contemporary accounts from psychologists of the era describe how children in particular found emotional stability through their pets during bombing raids. Wartime observations of children in London documented how those who maintained connections with pets showed remarkable resilience and faster recovery from trauma. This led to significant policy changes, with many bomb shelters eventually allowing pets, recognizing the critical role these animals played in maintaining civilian morale and mental stability. Mental health professionals of the era noted that maintaining these human-animal bonds helped people cope with the trauma of war, providing emotional continuity and comfort in an otherwise chaotic world. The People's Dispensary for Sick Animals documented numerous cases where the presence of animals helped prevent psychological breakdown among civilians during the Blitz. One particularly moving case involved a family whose dog consistently alerted them to incoming air raids before the sirens sounded, saving not only their lives, but also helping reduce their constant anxiety about surprise attacks. Neighborhoods where pets were preserved had significantly lower rates of psychological casualties during the war. The Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 brought forth powerful demonstrations of the psychological resilience fostered by human-animal bonds, presenting unprecedented challenges and remarkable responses. Mental health experts observed that amid the severe trauma of war, the presence of pets often served as a crucial emotional anchor for civilians. Humanitarian organizations say that Ukrainian refugees reported that concern for their pets significantly influenced their evacuation decisions. Also, refugees who managed to keep their pets showed better emotional regulation and adaptation to displacement compared to those who couldn't. Heart-wrenching scenes unfolded of people fleeing with their beloved animals. Civilians carrying dogs through bombed-out streets, cats peering from backpacks at border crossings, and improvised animal shelters in subway stations. These became powerful symbols not just of resilience, but of psychological survival. The story of Maria Kozlov from Mariupol captured global attention when she carried her elderly German shepherd for 3 kilometers through active shelling to reach safety. In Kyiv alone, local veterinarians reported treating over 5,000 pets in the first month of the invasion, often in makeshift clinics in subway stations and basements. Ukrainian refugees, facing impossible choices, often prioritize their pets' safety alongside their own, carrying them for miles or sharing scarce resources. The story of Anna Shumska, who walked for 6 days to reach Poland while carrying her injured cat in a makeshift sling, became emblematic of this extraordinary dedication. Psychologists noted that this commitment to animal companions often helped prevent emotional collapse, providing a sense of purpose and normalcy amid devastating circumstances. There are documented cases where the responsibility of caring for pets prevented severe depression and suicide among civilians in refugee centers. There was also significantly lower rates of acute stress disorder among individuals who managed to evacuate with their pets compared to those forced to leave them behind. Children in pet-friendly facilities showed particularly significant improvements with less anxiety-related symptoms. These examples prompted the World Health Organization to issue new guidelines recognizing the importance of preserving human-animal bonds during humanitarian crises. The international response to this crisis revealed a deep understanding of the psychological importance of these human-animal bonds, leading to unprecedented policy changes and support systems. Countries like Poland, Romania, and other European nations demonstrated remarkable empathy by modifying their entry requirements, allowing pets to cross borders without standard documentation. This policy shift acknowledged that forcing refugees to abandon their animals would inflict additional psychological trauma on already vulnerable populations. The European Union's Temporary Protection Directive was specifically amended to include provisions for pet evacuation, marking the first time in history that companion animals were formally recognized in international refugee protocols. Within Ukraine's war-torn cities, remarkable stories emerged of psychological resilience strengthened through dedication to animals, revealing the profound depth of human-animal connections in crisis. Local volunteers, despite experiencing their own trauma, found purpose and meaning in risking their lives to feed abandoned pets and rescue those trapped in damaged buildings. The Serious Animal Shelter in Kyiv, for example, continued operating throughout the invasion, with staff members living on site to care for over 3,000 animals, while under constant threat of bombardment. Among these volunteers was Olna Dmitriev, a former accountant who lost her home in the bombing, but found new purpose coordinating rescue operations. Mental health workers observed that these acts of animal welfare often helped volunteers process their own trauma and maintain emotional stability. Animal rescue work seems to provide a therapeutic outlet for many survivors of bombing attacks. Research shows that volunteers involved in animal care demonstrated significantly better psychological outcomes compared to those who remained isolated during the conflict. These findings supported emerging theories about the therapeutic value of animal-focused humanitarian work in crisis situations. There is a detailed case study of Igor Kovalenko, a former soldier who found profound healing through working with rescued dogs, eventually establishing a therapeutic program for other veterans struggling with combat trauma. Zoo staff who remained with their animals through power outages and bombing reported that their sense of purpose in protecting the animals in their care helped them cope with the psychological impact of war. The Kyiv Zoo's decision to keep all 4,000 animals in place during the invasion created an unexpected community hub, where local residents found solace in maintaining normal routines of visiting and caring for animals despite the chaos around them. The story of Katerina Pilypenko, a senior zookeeper, captured international attention when she chose to live in the zoo for 3 months to care for the endangered tigers, organizing a network of volunteers to ensure continuous care during air raids. Her dedication inspired dozens of local residents to join the volunteer program, creating what psychologists later termed a therapeutic community centered around animal care. These experiences demonstrate how the human-animal bond can not only inspire acts of bravery, but also serve as a crucial mechanism for maintaining mental health during crisis. Psychological studies conducted among zoo staff showed remarkably low rates of depression and anxiety, despite their high-risk circumstances, attributed to their sense of purpose in animal care. The role of working animals in war zones extends far beyond practical assistance, encompassing crucial psychological support functions that mental health experts increasingly recognize as vital for both military personnel and civilians. Throughout history, from the carrier pigeons of World War I to the dolphins of the Vietnam War, animals have served alongside humans in combat zones, creating bonds that transcend their tactical purposes. Military working dogs serve a dual purpose that's often overlooked. While their tactical capabilities are well documented, their psychological impact on service members is equally significant. The Veterans Administration shows that many soldiers credit their canine partners with helping them maintain emotional stability during deployment, with many describing their dogs as lifelines to sanity in combat zones. These findings are supported by compelling evidence from both historical conflicts and current war zones. Sergeant Maria Rodriguez, who served in Afghanistan with her dog Atlas, describes how their bond helped her process trauma. Atlas knew when I needed support before I did. His presence during night patrols kept me grounded when everything else felt chaotic. In Ukraine, military veterinarians documented how specialized canine units not only detect explosives but serve as crucial emotional anchors for soldiers facing intense combat stress. The dog's unwavering presence and unconditional support create what psychologists term a safe emotional space amid chaos. There are over 300 documented cases where military working dogs played a crucial role in preventing psychological breakdowns among personnel in high-stress combat situations. In quiet moments between missions, when the weight of combat memories feels heaviest, therapy animals have become silent guardians for our military personnel. These extraordinary companions walk alongside warriors wrestling with the invisible wounds of war, offering an unwavering presence that words often cannot match. Through gentle interactions and unconditional acceptance, these animals help break down the walls that trauma builds, creating space for healing and hope. Their impact extends far beyond the military bases into the chaotic aftermath of disasters and emergencies, where rescue animals become anchors of calm in storms of crisis. These remarkable animals work alongside emergency responders, their presence helping both rescuers and survivors find moments of peace amidst chaos. In these critical moments, something profound happens. A bridge forms between trauma and healing, between despair and hope. The transformative power of these animal-human bonds continues to reshape our understanding of recovery as more warriors and survivors find their way back to wholeness through these extraordinary partnerships. As we witness the ongoing impact of war on both humans and animals, the psychological significance of their mutual bond becomes increasingly clear through both scientific research and lived experience. These relationships represent far more than mere companionship. They are fundamental to human psychological resilience and recovery from trauma. A particularly moving example comes from Mariupol, where psychologist Dr. Nina Petrova documented the case of an elderly woman who survived 3 weeks in a basement with her cat during intense bombardment. The woman's vital signs and psychological stability remained remarkably steady compared to others in similar situations, which Dr. Petrova attributes to the calming presence of her feline companion. Research from conflict zones worldwide indicates that these bonds activate neural pathways associated with emotional regulation and stress resilience, providing a biological foundation for psychological healing. Ukrainian mental health group Healing Together has documented remarkable cases of trauma recovery facilitated by animal companionship. There is the story of Irina, a survivor of the Mariupol siege. After witnessing devastating losses, Irina found herself unable to speak for weeks. It was her daily interactions with shelter dogs that gradually helped her reconnect with her emotions and begin processing her trauma. The unconditional acceptance these animals offered created a safe space for her healing journey. The unwavering loyalty between people and their animal companions demonstrates not only our capacity for love and compassion, but also our evolutionary adaptation for these connections. Neurobiological research reveals that human-animal interactions trigger the release of oxytocin and reduce stress hormones, creating what researchers term a biological buffer against trauma. Numerous cases have been documented where this biochemical response proved crucial for survival. There is the remarkable story of a family in Kharkiv who sheltered with their 2 dogs during intense fighting. Despite the extreme stress, regular This special relationship exemplifies the depth of human emotional capacity and our ability to find strength through connection, even in our darkest hours. Mental health professionals studying these bonds in conflict zones have documented what they call the reciprocal resilience effect, where the act of caring for animals helps people maintain their own psychological stability. Evidence clearly shows that these relationships represent one of our most powerful tools for maintaining mental health and fostering resilience in the face of trauma and conflict. Preserving and nurturing these bonds should be a priority in both military and civilian crisis response protocols. The International Association of Human-Animal Interaction now recommends that all emergency response plans include provisions for keeping humans and animals together, recognizing this as a crucial factor in both immediate survival and long-term psychological recovery. In the harsh reality of modern warfare, where the rhythmic thunder of artillery fire punctuates every hour and the acrid smell of smoke hangs perpetually in the air, there exists a profound connection that defies the chaos, the bond between soldiers and the animals they encounter in combat zones. The landscape of war is painted in shades of dust and destruction, but within this monochrome world, these unexpected friendships emerge like delicate flowers through cracked concrete, offering glimpses of humanity in places where it seems all but lost. In forward operating bases across conflict zones, amid the constant hum of generators and the distant echoes of combat, these relationships flourish, becoming lifelines for those who carry the weight of war on their shoulders. Staff Sergeant Sarah Martinez still remembers the exact moment that changed everything. It was during a routine patrol through the rubble-strewn streets of Kandahar, the air thick with dust and diesel fumes, when she heard it, a soft whimper emanating from beneath a collapsed building. The sound barely registered above the ambient noise of the war-torn city, but something in it called to her. Against her better judgment, she approached the unstable structure, her boots crunching on pulverized concrete and shattered glass. There, in the shadows of what was once someone's home, she found him, a trembling shepherd mix puppy, no more than a few months old, his coat matted with dust and debris. The dog's eyes, amber and intelligent, met hers with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. His ribs showed through his dirty fur, but there was an undeniable dignity in how he held himself, even in his fear. In that moment, surrounded by the wreckage of what was once a neighborhood, Martinez found something she didn't realize she'd been missing, a reminder of life's persistent beauty. "Hey there, little one," she whispered, her voice softer than it had been in months. The puppy's ears perked up at her words, and despite his obvious hunger and exhaustion, his tail gave a tentative wag. Martinez removed her glove, slowly extending her hand. The puppy sniffed it cautiously before giving her fingers a gentle lick. She named him Beacon, and in the months that followed, he became exactly that, a guiding light through her darkest days. During night watches, when the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders and the distance from home felt insurmountable, Beacon would rest his head on her lap, his steady breathing synchronizing with hers. The nighttime sounds of the base, the whir of surveillance drones, the muffled conversations of soldiers on guard duty, the occasional distant explosion seemed less threatening with his warm presence beside her. His fur, now clean and soft, became her anchor, grounding her when the chaos threatened to overwhelm. Through his eyes, she began to see beyond the immediate danger, beyond the next mission, beyond the war itself. In caring for him, sharing her water, sneaking him bits of her meals, tending to his paw when he stepped on broken glass, she maintained her connection to compassion, to tenderness, to the parts of herself that war threatened to erode. Each morning, as she watched him greet the rising sun with boundless enthusiasm, she was reminded of the simple joy of being alive. Private First Class Michael Chen, the unit's medic, observed the change in Martinez firsthand. Before Beacon, he recalls, Sarah was all business all the time. She had to be. She was responsible for people's lives. But that dog, he helped her remember how to smile. Chen had his own experiences with the healing power of animals in the war zone. In his medical tent, a local cat he named Florence would often curl up next to wounded soldiers, purring softly as they recovered. "There's something about an animal's presence," he says, "that medicine can't replicate. They remind us we're still human." The transformation was subtle but undeniable. Other members of Martinez's unit noticed how Beacon's presence changed the energy of their forward operating base. His morning routine of greeting each soldier became a cherished constant in their ever-changing environment. Even the most hardened veterans found themselves smiling as he bounded through the compound, his tail wagging with uncontainable joy. Corporal Jessica Rodriguez, who initially scoffed at the idea of having a dog on base, became one of Beacon's most devoted friends. "There was this one night," she remembers, "after we lost Thompson in an wide incident. Everyone was raw, angry, scared. Beacon somehow sensed it. He went from person to person, just being there, letting us pet him, cry into his fur if we needed to. Animals don't judge your grief, you know? They just share it with you." The local children who occasionally visited the base with their parents were drawn to Beacon as well. 8-year-old Fatima, daughter of one of their interpreters, formed a special bond with him. "When Beacon plays with my daughter," her father explained, "I see her forget about the war, even if just for a moment. In her laughter, I hear the echo of what our city used to be, what it could be again." But it wasn't just about comfort. Beacon proved himself invaluable in ways no one could have predicted. His acute senses often alerted the unit to approaching vehicles before their equipment could detect them. During patrols, his behavior would change subtly when something wasn't right. A tension in his body, a slight change in his gait. He became not just a companion, but a guardian, his instincts honed by both nature and necessity. Sergeant James Wilson, The unit's senior NCO credits Beacon with saving lives during a particularly tense night operation. "We were moving through an area known for insurgent activity," he recounts. "Beacon suddenly stopped, hackles raised. Moments later, we discovered a freshly planted IED in our path. That dog has a sixth sense about danger. He's one of us now, a soldier in his own right." The bond between soldier and animal evolved into a partnership built on mutual protection and trust. Martinez found herself watching Beacon's body language as carefully as she monitored her equipment. His reactions became part of their tactical awareness, his instincts complementing their training. In return, the unit protected him as one of their own, sharing their water, their shade, their medical supplies when needed. The most profound moments often came in the quiet hours, when the gunfire ceased and the night wrapped around them like a blanket. Martinez would find herself confiding in Beacon, whispering her fears, her hopes, her memories of home. He would listen with those intelligent eyes, offering the kind of unconditional acceptance that seemed impossible to find in a war zone. "I told him things I couldn't tell anyone else," Martinez admits, about how sometimes the weight of command feels unbearable, about the nightmares that wake me up sweating, about how I worry I'll never fully fit back into civilian life. He just understands, or at least he makes me feel understood. In these moments, the lines between savior and saved became beautifully blurred. Who was really rescuing whom? The answer perhaps lay in the simple truth that healing is rarely a one-way street. As Martinez helped Beacon recover from his early trauma, he helped her maintain her humanity in an environment that threatened to strip it away. When Martinez's deployment finally ended, there was never any question about leaving Beacon behind. Through a network of dedicated volunteers and organizations specializing in military animal rescue, she arranged for his transport home. The process was complicated, expensive, and fraught with bureaucratic challenges, but her unit rallied around her, contributing funds and helping with paperwork. The day Beacon left the base was emotional for everyone. Each soldier who had been touched by his presence came to say goodbye, many slipping him treats or giving him one last pat. Fatima brought him a handmade collar, decorated with traditional Afghan beadwork. "For remembering us," she said, her young face serious as she fastened it around his neck. Today, they walked together through peaceful neighborhoods, both carrying the memories of where they met, both healing, both forever changed by a connection that transcended the boundaries of species and the brutality of war. Sometimes Martinez notices Beacon still scanning their surroundings, his old instincts sharp as ever. She does the same, old habits dying hard. But now, when they look at each other, they see not just the shadows of what they've survived, but the light of what they've become together. Their story stands as a testament to the enduring power of the human-animal bond, proving that even in humanity's darkest moments, love and companionship can light the way forward. In the end, it's not just about survival. It's about finding those unexpected moments of grace that remind us of our shared capacity for compassion, resilience, and hope.